Baby, listen, before you scroll another inch, you need to sit down, pour something cold, and understand what you are about to witness, because the wheels have officially fallen off the Claressa Shields campaign, and I do not say that lightly. The girl walked into her own weigh-in wearing what looked like a hand-me-down copy of Alicia Baumgardner's outfit. Her whole camp is treating her like a queen who cannot lose, and then Remy Ma pressed one button, dropped one track, and the entire Claressa fortress went completely, embarrassingly, painfully quiet. Buckle in because the room is about to shake, and by the time we are done, you are going to understand exactly why this whole situation stopped being about a fight and started being about something a lot deeper and a lot messier. This is not a boxing story anymore. This is an obsession story. This is a copycat story. This is a story about what happens when yes men convince a champion that she is invincible right before the internet hands her a mirror. And once that mirror comes out, there is no putting it back in the drawer. Let me set the table for you, because there is a version of this story that a lot of people online are still not connecting, and the moment you connect it, the whole picture changes. Claressa Shields, for months, has been telling anybody with a microphone that she is not thinking about Remy Ma, that she does not care about Remy Ma, that Remy Ma is beneath her, that she will not even say Remy Ma's name out loud, because in her words, saying the name is acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is power she is not willing to give. Cute philosophy. Sounds tough on paper. Except the moment Remy actually walked into the studio, cooked up the record, and let it fly, Claressa Shields did the one thing she swore up and down she would never do. She went silent. She froze. She ducked. And when she finally opened her mouth again, she surrounded herself with a room full of clappers before she said a single syllable, because deep down, Claressa Shields already knew she did not have a real answer. The internet does not miss those tells. The internet clocks the delay. The internet clocks the crew. That is where we have to start, because everything else flows downstream from that one truth. Claressa Shields talks like the room is empty, then behaves like the room is loud. Claressa Shields postures like a general, then flinches like a rookie. And Claressa Shields cannot understand why the public is finally starting to laugh, because for years the public has been polite, and for years the public has been patient, and for years the people around Claressa Shields have been protecting her from a very simple, very uncomfortable reality. The yes men are not helping her, they are burying her in slow motion, and she cannot see it because she is standing too close to the shovel. That is what happens when your entire ecosystem is on payroll. Nobody in that room has clearance to correct her. And when nobody in the room can say no, everybody in the room becomes complicit in the crash. Rewind the tape a second. Remy Ma dropped the record. Everybody on the timeline heard it. Everybody understood who the record was aimed at. Claressa Shields could no longer play the, if you don't say my name, I don't hear you, game, because Remy made the target obvious, the references sharp, and the placement surgical. And what did Claressa Shields do? She said nothing. Not a bar back. Not a story. Not a stitch. She let the record breathe on the timeline like a lit fuse, and she stood there watching it burn. Then hours later, after the room refilled with her people, after the crew showed up with the hype energy, after the cameras were repositioned and the lighting was fixed, only then did Claressa Shields open her mouth. And when she opened her mouth, the delivery told on her. The eyes told on her. The energy told on her. Because you cannot claim you are above the smoke while you are quietly gathering an audience to help you look brave. Brave people do not need an audience. Brave people do not need a warm-up act. Brave people do not need a producer whispering, "You got this," from behind a ring light before they say a single word. Let us talk about the weigh-in, because the weigh-in is where this entire operation went from suspicious to unignorable. Claressa Shields walked out for her weigh-in and the outfit that showed up on her body looked eerily, uncomfortably, dangerously close to the exact outfit Alicia Baumgardner wore at her own weigh-in only a few months ago. Same silhouette. Same construction. Same energy. Different color. That is not fashion. That is a receipt. That is a fingerprint. That is a woman who has been sitting in front of her television studying another woman's rollout, another woman's presentation, another woman's whole moment, and then acting like the reference is a coincidence. Claressa Shields, out of every stylist, every seamstress, every designer, every runway, every rack, every mood board on planet Earth, somehow arrived at the exact silhouette Alicia Baumgardner already walked in months ago. And you want the audience to believe that was luck? Baby, that was a syllabus. Alicia's weigh-in was the syllabus, and Claressa Shields turned in the homework in a different color. A different color is not an original thought. A paint swatch does not qualify as design. And I want to be very clear about something, because I know how the internet works. This is not about the outfit itself. Outfits are outfits. This is about a pattern. This is about a woman who has spent months publicly acting like she cannot stand a certain lane, publicly acting like she is not paying attention, publicly acting like she is on another level, and then quietly borrowing that lane's entire choreography. The block is talking, and the block is not confused. The block sees exactly what is happening. Claressa Shields is not building her own template. Claressa Shields is remixing other people's templates and hoping nobody notices. That is not confidence. That is not originality. That is a cry for help wrapped in a designer hem. And once the audience learns to spot the pattern only becomes louder, only becomes clearer, only becomes harder to hide. You cannot unsee a copycat once you have identified the source material. Now let me pour some more, because it gets richer. After the weigh-in, Claressa Shields sat down inside a Rolls-Royce with Papoose and let a live stream roll, and if you have ever wanted a live psychological x-ray of a person telling on themselves in real time, this was the moment. She started reading the chat. She started responding to strangers. She started performing calm. She started performing power. She started performing that special brand of unbothered that only bothered people ever perform. Then a woman in the chat said something about her man, and Claressa Shields snapped. Not casually. Not lightly. Snapped. Booted the woman off the live like she had been waiting to boot somebody for hours. And in that snap, Claressa Shields revealed the whole game. Because you cannot be unbothered and territorial at the same time. Pick a lane. The Rolls-Royce cannot save you from the tell. The tell is louder than the luxury. Speaking of the Rolls-Royce, let us pull on that thread, because Papoose posted the video and captioned it in a way that let everybody know exactly what role he is playing right now. He wanted the internet to know they only ride in Rolls-Royces. He wanted the internet to know Claressa Shields looked amazing at the weigh-in. He wanted the internet to know anybody who disagrees is blind. Cute post. Loud post. Suspicious post. Because ask yourself something simple. If none of this was bothering Papoose, if none of this was aimed at Remy Ma, if none of this was strategic, would he really be posting on a random Friday, praising Claressa Shields in the loudest possible font, defending her looks against invisible critics? No. He would be doing his own thing somewhere else. He would be handling his own paperwork somewhere else. He would not be clocked in on the internet like a security guard on the last shift of the night. Papoose is in performance mode, and performance mode is what men run when there is a mess they cannot fix behind the curtain. Performance mode is what men run when the wife is finalizing the split and the receipts are stacking up on somebody's desk. And that mess is not going anywhere just because there is a fight this weekend. That is the part Claressa Shields does not understand yet. You can distract the internet for a night. You cannot distract a paper trail. You cannot distract a wife. You cannot distract a legal situation. You cannot distract a public that has already made up its mind. And you certainly cannot distract Remy Ma, who has already shown that she is happy to sit back, let you post, let you flex, let you rent the rolls, and then release a 2-minute record that undoes 6 months of your marketing. That is the position Claressa Shields is in tonight, and the people around her either do not see it or do not care to tell her. Because telling her would mean risking the paycheck. And risking the paycheck is a line none of them are willing to cross. So the lie continues. The applause continues. The delusion continues. And the crash gets closer. Let us go back to the weigh-in, because this comparison is going to eat at you all week if I do not lay it out properly. Alicia Baumgardner walked out for her own weigh-in months ago and delivered a moment. Full moment. Choreographed moment. Cinematic moment. Lil' Kim came out to walk her out. Cardi B was on the speakers. The presentation was legacy level. And Alicia did not need a stylist standing behind her brushing her scalp on stage to keep the illusion together. Alicia's hair was done, her posture was locked, her whole rollout was self-contained. Alicia Baumgardner arrived, delivered, and left. Clean. No touch-ups. No triage. No emergency edits. That is what a fully baked moment looks like. Claressa Shields walked out for her way in and rewrote Alicia's rollout in her own handwriting. The silhouette rhymed. The energy rhymed. The construction rhymed. Except unlike Alicia, Claressa Shields needed a hair technician physically present, mid-stage, brushing and adjusting and repositioning her wig or her installation while cameras were rolling, because the illusion kept slipping. And that on-stage hair correction is the moment the mask cracked. Alicia did not need triage. Claressa Shields did. Alicia did not need somebody fluffing her scalp in front of a live audience. Claressa Shields did. Alicia did not need choreographed maintenance to hold her image together. Claressa Shields did. And that is the difference between owning a moment and renting a moment. You can rent the outfit. You can rent the crew. You can rent the vehicle. You can rent the applause. You cannot rent authenticity, and authenticity is the one currency the internet accepts without exchange. And here is what people are missing. Alicia Baumgardner is about to walk into an even bigger platform, because Alicia Baumgardner is expected to be part of the next season of Special Forces, which is reportedly set to begin airing around mid to late September, and if you think Claressa Shields is boiling now, wait until Alicia is on a network reality show demonstrating in real time what real toughness looks like without any hair technician trailing behind her. That is going to be the summer's second earthquake, and Claressa Shields does not have a strategy for it, because Claressa Shields is still trying to figure out the strategy for tonight. And the moment Alicia Baumgardner steps onto that Special Forces set, the entire comparison machine restarts. New outfits. New performances. New choreography. And Claressa Shields will be forced to either watch quietly or borrow again. Neither option is good. Neither option ends well. Now let us get to the part everybody has been waiting on, because the tape does not lie. Somewhere between the weigh-in and the fight, Claressa Shields decided she was ready to rap. Not sing. Not talk. Rap. Full attempt. She got in front of her camera, gathered a small congregation of clappers, and delivered what she believed was a response to Remy Ma. And if you have not seen it yet, understand this, the delivery was not confident, the delivery was not composed, and the delivery was not what a woman who has spent months talking down about a real MC should have arrived with. Claressa Shields tried to flip the entire narrative and paint Remy Ma as the obsessed one, painted Remy Ma as the stalker, painted Remy Ma as the woman who quietly wants to be her, painted Remy Ma as somebody trying to sleep with her by imitation, and did it with the exact tone of a person who has never sat through a real bar in her life. She sounded like somebody rehearsing in front of a mirror. She sounded like somebody trying to remember what she wrote in the Notes app. She sounded like somebody who prayed the crew would carry the moment, and the crew did their job, but the tape did its job too, and the tape is the one that survives. Let us be honest for a second, because honest is what this moment requires. If you need 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6 people standing behind you laughing and clapping and pointing every time you open your mouth, in order to convince yourself that what you just said was hot, then what you just said was not hot. That is not confidence. That is scaffolding. Confidence does not require a laugh track. Confidence does not require a chorus. Confidence does not require somebody standing off camera whispering, "You killed that," every time a bar lands with a thud. And every bar Claressa Shields delivered in that room landed with a thud. The clappers were not reacting to the raps. The clappers were reacting to their paychecks. There is a difference between a room that is genuinely moved and a room that is contractually obligated to be moved, and the microphone can hear the difference every single time. And the choice of line was even wilder. Claressa Shields ended one of her deliveries with a phrase everybody in the culture already knows is attached to a very specific person. She had to know what she was doing. Nobody accidentally lands on that phrase. Nobody accidentally weaponizes that phrase. That was deliberate. That was targeted. That was Claressa Shields trying to send a subliminal at somebody without spending the full postage. And then she followed it up with her signature, "I don't beef, I beat," line, which she has been recycling for months, which she has been dragging into every press conference for months, and which is starting to sound less like a threat and more like a personal affirmation she has to say out loud to keep herself from cracking. It is a mantra now. It is a stress ball now. It is a coping mechanism now. Once a threat becomes a coping mechanism, it loses every ounce of intimidation. Because let us zoom out. Claressa Shields, in this exact same week, has told the world she does not think about Remy Ma, she does not care about Remy Ma, she does not acknowledge Remy Ma, she is on another level than Remy Ma, and she cannot be compared to Remy Ma. And in that same week, Claressa Shields has released a rap trying to sound like Remy Ma, worn an outfit that mirrors Alicia Baumgardner, kicked women off her live for looking at Papoose, and gathered a paid audience to react to her every syllable. If that is not the definition of obsession, I need somebody to update the dictionary. That is not indifference. That is not distance. That is a full-time surveillance operation dressed up as detachment. Detachment does not schedule content around Remy Ma's drop dates. Detachment does not mirror Alicia Baumgardner's weigh-in. Detachment does not need a hype crew standing by. Detachment is quiet. Detachment is boring. Detachment does not go viral, because detachment does not need to. Now let us talk about the Ticketmaster situation, because Claressa Shields keeps standing on the claim that her fight is sold out, and every time she says it, another portion of the internet pulls up the Ticketmaster page in real time and finds seats still available. That is not a rumor. That is not a smear. That is a public-facing ticketing platform showing publicly available inventory. That is math. And when the math contradicts the narrative is the one that has to change, not the math. Claressa Shields wants the internet to accept her word over their eyes, and the internet is not built like that in 2026. If you tell people the show is sold out, and Ticketmaster tells people the show is not sold out, Ticketmaster wins. It is not personal. It is a website. Websites do not have feelings. Websites do not have agendas. Websites do not care whether Claressa Shields likes the number on the seat map. Websites only show the number, and the number is the number. The Rolls-Royce claim is on the same wobble. Claressa Shields wants everybody to believe her entire life is Rolls-Royces, no other transportation, no other vehicles, nothing but the double R for miles. But when you flex that hard, that publicly, that loudly, in a live stream, people start asking questions. The flex was never designed to survive. People start asking who actually owns the car. People start asking whether the car is leased for the weekend. People start asking whether the car is part of the fight promotion. And once those questions start, the entire luxury monologue collapses under its own weight. Luxury does not have to announce itself. Luxury does not need a live stream caption. Real Rolls-Royces do not need commentary. If the car is yours, the car is yours. If the car needs a press release, something else is going on. Old money whispers. New money screams. Rented money records itself in the back seat and posts the footage. And this is where we have to loop back to the biggest, most uncomfortable pattern of them all, the yes men. Because everything Claressa Shields is doing wrong right now, every misstep, every borrowed outfit, every recycled catchphrase, every live stream tantrum, every failed rap attempt, could have been stopped by one honest person in her circle willing to sit her down and say the truth. But there is no honest person left in her circle. There is only a cast of people whose entire employment depends on her never realizing that the room is lying to her. And so the room lies. The room claps. The room laughs. The room hypes. And Claressa Shields walks out of that room believing she just delivered a masterpiece, when what she actually delivered was a receipt for everybody watching. The room is a bubble. The bubble is a business. And business will always pick the paycheck over the truth, every single time. The people around Claressa Shields are not challenging her because Claressa Shields is not paying them to challenge her. Claressa Shields is paying them to agree. And when you pay people to agree, you eventually lose the ability to hear disagreement, and when you lose the ability to hear disagreement, you lose the ability to see reality, and when you lose the ability to see reality, you start showing up to your own way and dressed like somebody else and calling it a coincidence. That is the food chain. That is the ecosystem. That is what is happening inside the Claressa Shields camp in real time, and everybody outside the camp can see it clearly, which is why the internet is currently having a field day. The camp is the last group of people to figure out what the timeline already knows, and by the time the camp figures it out, it will be too late to course-correct the narrative. Now the part everybody wants to know, what is Remy Ma actually working with? Because if Claressa Shields believes she has already answered the record, and if the delivery we just watched is what she considers a response, then Claressa Shields is in for a very long weekend, because a real answer to a Remy Ma record has to sound like it belongs in the same room as a Remy Ma record. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be Grammy-shaped. It just has to breathe. It just has to have craft. It just has to arrive without a paid laugh track. And what Claressa Shields released did not breathe, did not have craft, and could not survive without the laugh track. Remy Ma has not even opened the full arsenal yet. Remy Ma has an album coming. Remy Ma has stories. Remy Ma has references. Remy Ma has receipts. Remy Ma has time. And time is the one weapon Claressa Shields cannot outrun, because time compounds, and compounding beats performance every single round. And Claressa Shields does not have time. Claressa Shields has a fight to make, wait for, a way in to survive, a press cycle to smile through, a Rolls-Royce narrative to protect, a Papoose situation to babysit, an Alicia Baumgardner comparison she cannot outrun, a Ticketmaster page contradicting her mouth, a livestream she cannot unpost, and a rap performance she absolutely cannot delete off the internet no matter how many yes-men she deploys to bury it. That is not a war position. That is triage. Claressa Shields is in triage, and she does not know she is in triage, because the room told her she is winning. And a fighter who thinks she is winning while she is bleeding out is the most dangerous fighter to herself, because she keeps swinging when she should be sitting down. Let us not forget the Brianna angle either, because Papoose is little, she is beautiful, y'all are blind, post did not appear in a vacuum. That post landed the same week Brianna's older comments about Claressa Shields resurfaced and started recirculating, and Papoose knew exactly what he was doing by dropping that particular caption at that particular time. This is not a man defending his woman in a general sense. This is a man doing damage control on multiple fronts at once, hoping the internet does not notice all the fires he is running between. And the internet is noticing. The internet is always noticing. The internet lives for exactly this kind of split-screen chaos. The internet was built for this exact configuration of overlapping messes, and Papoose is starring in every single one of them at once. And this is where Claressa Shields needs to hear something, whether the yes men will let it into the room or not. You are not being chased. You are not being envied. You are not being copied. You are the one doing the chasing. You are the one doing the envying. You are the one doing the copying. And every time you flip that accusation onto Remy Ma, or onto Alicia Baumgardner, or onto Brianna, or onto whichever new woman is on your worry list this week, the audience hears the projection loud and clear. Projection has a sound. Projection has a tone. Projection has a specific frequency. And Claressa Shields has been broadcasting on that exact frequency for months. The receiver is on. The transmission is loud. Everybody with headphones can hear it. The only person who cannot hear it is the person doing the transmitting. Remember something else, because timeline order matters. According to what has been reported, a cease and desist was already sent to Remy Ma back in April. Months ago. Which means the discomfort was already there. The receipts were already there. The nerves were already there. And now, when Remy finally speaks up publicly, Claressa Shields wants to flip the story and pretend Remy is the aggressor. But you cannot send legal paperwork in April and then act shocked when the person you tried to silence starts speaking in August. That is not how any of this works. That is not how the timeline reads. That is not how the paperwork reads. That is not how the public reads. Paperwork does not lie. Paperwork has dates. Paperwork has signatures. Paperwork survives every narrative pivot the camp tries to spin. And this is why the, I don't beef, I beat, line is landing so hollow. Because it is not a response. It is a slogan. And slogans are what people fall back on when they do not have an actual argument. Slogans are the emotional equivalent of scaffolding. Slogans are what you say when the room needs to hear something, anything, that sounds like strength. But strength does not need a slogan. Strength does not need repetition. Strength does not need a paid choir. Strength arrives quietly and leaves the room in ruins. Claressa Shields is arriving loudly and leaving the room in confusion, and there is a very big difference. Loud is not the same as strong. Loud is often the sound strong makes when it is imitating itself. Let us also address the whoop that trick moment, because Claressa Shields wants to lean on the crowd chanting that phrase like it is her personal anthem, like it is her signature, like it is her power. But the crowd is not chanting that phrase because Claressa Shields owns the phrase. The crowd is chanting because they have been trained by the promotion to chant. That is a manufactured moment, not an organic one. And manufactured moments do not hold when the internet gets its hands on them, because the internet always finds the seams. Claressa Shields is standing on top of a moment somebody else built for her, taking credit for the architecture. That is the through line of this entire chapter of her career, standing on other people's architecture and calling it her own. Every prop in her arsenal was engineered by somebody else, every rallying cry was borrowed from somebody else, every visual cue was assembled by somebody else, and she has stopped noticing where her contribution ends and the borrowed material begins. Meanwhile, Alicia Baumgardner is preparing for her next platform. Remy Ma is preparing for the next drop. Brianna is watching from the sidelines with her popcorn. The internet is compiling side-by-side comparison threads that will haunt Claressa Shields for years. And the yes men in her camp are still telling her she is winning. This is how legacies quietly crack. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a slow accumulation of small tells, a copied outfit here, a hollow slogan there, a live stream tantrum here, a failed rap attempt there, a Ticketmaster contradiction here, a Rolls-Royce over-explanation there. Add it all up and you get the picture the internet is currently drawing. And once the picture is drawn, once the audience agrees on the shape of it, that image never comes back off the wall. That is the permanence problem with the internet. What gets etched, stays etched. And I have to say this, because it matters. This is not a takedown. This is a mirror. Claressa Shields has accomplishments nobody can take from her inside the ring. She has medals nobody can take from her. She has a place in the sport nobody can take from her. Nothing about her boxing resume is under attack right now. What is under attack is the character she is performing outside the ring, the personality she is constructing for the cameras, the persona she is renting from other women. That is the department where the damage is stacking up, and that is the department nobody in her camp is willing to renovate, because renovation would require them to admit the current design is broken. And admitting the design is broken would require the entire team to admit they signed off on the design, which means every one of them is now motivated to keep pretending the design is still working. Let us also spend a minute on the Papoose captioning strategy, because there is a subtle art to what he is doing, and once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. Every single Papoose post around Claressa Shields lately has been engineered to do three things at once: praise Claressa Shields loudly, provoke Remy Ma quietly, and defend against invisible critics theatrically. It is a triangle. And triangles are not accidents. Triangles are strategies. Papoose is running a communications operation, and Claressa Shields is starring in it whether she realizes it or not. She is the face of the campaign. He is the copywriter. And Remy Ma is the target audience the ad was written to bother. That is not a marriage strategy. That is not even really a relationship strategy. That is a public relations campaign wearing the costume of a relationship. And Claressa Shields is walking into it eyes wide open, because the attention feeds her, the flex feeds her, the noise feeds her. She likes the volume. She likes the traffic. She likes the notifications. What she has not paused to consider is that every single one of those notifications is arriving because Papoose engineered them, not because the internet spontaneously decided to celebrate her. The volume was manufactured. The traffic was routed. The notifications were programmed. And when the campaign ends, the traffic ends with it. That is the trap. Manufactured attention has a shelf life, and Claressa Shields is treating a shelf life product like a lifetime supply. There is also the question of Remy Ma's discipline, because this whole moment is a masterclass in when to speak and when to sit down. Remy Ma did not clap back every time Claressa Shields opened her mouth. Remy Ma did not chase every subliminal. Remy Ma did not live stream her frustration. Remy Ma did not run to the press. Remy Ma waited. Remy Ma studied. Remy Ma prepared. And when Remy Ma finally moved, she moved in one clean line, with one clean record, at one clean moment, and the impact was surgical. That is what patience buys you. That is what preparation buys you. That is what emotional discipline buys you. And Claressa Shields, right now, is showing the entire internet what a lack of that discipline looks like when the cameras stay rolling. Remy Ma is also playing a legacy game while Claressa Shields is playing a week-by-week game. Remy Ma does not need to win this week. Remy Ma does not need to trend this week. Remy Ma does not need to sell out an arena this week. Remy Ma is building a long-form narrative that pays off over months, not minutes. And Claressa Shields is trying to counter a long-form narrative with a short-form performance, which is like trying to counter a chess move with a coin flip. The scales do not match. The tempos do not match. The registers do not match. And by the time Claressa Shields realizes the scale of what she signed up for, the game will already be several moves ahead of her. Let us also address the audience that has been watching all of this in real time, because the audience is doing the work Claressa Shields' camp refuses to do. The audience is drawing the side-by-side comparisons. The audience is timestamping the contradictions. The audience is archiving the live streams. The audience is transcribing the raps. The audience is doing forensic work on Alicia Baumgardner's original outfit versus Claressa Shields' rendition. And every one of those receipts is being posted, shared, screenshotted, and preserved in a way no legal team can scrub off the internet in 2026. This is not a moment. This is a permanent record. And permanent records outlive press cycles. The most dangerous thing about the current Claressa Shields chapter is that she still has the option to change course, and she is refusing to. That is what makes it painful. That is what makes it public. That is what makes the internet lose patience with her. If she did not have the option, if the walls were closed, if the choice was made for her, everybody would understand. But the choice is still hers. The door is still open. She could pause the live streams. She could retire the slogans. She could hire a new circle. She could apologize where apologies are owed. She could focus on the ring and let the ring speak for her. None of those doors are locked. She simply refuses to walk through any of them. And every day she refuses, Remy Ma gets stronger, Alicia Baumgardner gets closer to her next platform, Brianna's earlier comments look more prophetic, Papoose's public relations campaign looks more transparent, and the internet gets bolder in what it will say out loud. This is compound interest, and compound interest does not care whether Claressa Shields likes the number in the account. The number is the number. The trajectory is the trajectory. The math is the math. And the math right now is not in her favor. So where does this leave us tonight? It leaves us watching a champion at a crossroads. On one side of the road is the fighter who could stop performing, stop copying, stop projecting, stop paying for applause, and simply focus on being who she actually is. On the other side of the road is the fighter who continues to double down, continues to borrow, continues to blame the mirror, and continues to escalate until the internet finally decides it is done being polite. Claressa Shields still has a moment to pick the first road. But every hour she spends listening to the yes men, the second road gets a little wider, a little easier, a little more automatic. Roads calcify. Roads become habits. And once a road becomes a habit, the exit ramp starts to disappear. And Remy Ma. Remy Ma is not done. Remy Ma has an album coming. Remy Ma has verses stored. Remy Ma has never been the kind of artist to fire one shot and pack up. This is not the finale. This is the trailer. If Claressa Shields thought this week was heavy, next week will be heavier. If she thought the record was sharp, the album will be sharper. If she thought the timeline had opinions today, wait until the full project lands. And no amount of Rolls-Royce content, no amount of live stream drama, no amount of paid clappers, no amount of borrowed outfits will be able to redirect that wave. The wave is coming. The wave is scheduled. And the wave does not care what Claressa Shields is wearing when it arrives. The most honest thing anybody could do for Claressa Shields right now is stop clapping. Just stop clapping. Let her hear the silence. Let her feel the room. Let her sit with the material. Because a champion who never gets to hear silence never gets to hear the truth, and a champion who never hears the truth cannot correct the trajectory. Somebody in that camp needs to be brave enough to be quiet. Somebody in that camp needs to be brave enough to say no. Somebody in that camp needs to be brave enough to say, sit this one out. Until somebody in that camp finds that courage, the pattern continues, the internet keeps documenting, and Remy Ma keeps building. And when Remy Ma finishes building, we are going to be back in this exact chair, on this exact channel, running this exact breakdown, except the receipts on that day will be twice as heavy as they are tonight. So tell me down below, do you think Claressa Shields still has time to correct the trajectory before the fight, or has the mask already slipped too far to pull back up? Do you think the outfit was a coincidence, or was that a full recreation with the receipts to prove it? And do you think Remy Ma should keep going, or has she already done enough damage with one track to close the entire chapter? Drop your read down below, because I am reading every single one of them, and there is a whole second breakdown coming as soon as the fight footage lands, because trust me, whatever happens in that ring this weekend, the story on the internet is only going to get louder from here. Stay locked in with the block, because we are watching this one all the way to the credits, and the credits are still a very long way off.